欢迎来到王定宇在308高地。每个礼拜四晚上7点半，我们都在这里关心着我们的台湾，不管是从地缘政治、区域安全或者军事外交，我们都希望在这里开启一个窗户，大家一起来讨论。那如果你还没有订阅的，记得按下订阅啊，开启小铃铛，分享、按赞。那同样的，在我们的308高地所有的 donate， 我们都保留在账户里面哈。等到国军弟兄姐妹因为演训或行动发生不幸的事情的时候，我们会把全数都用在那方面。我们的制作，我们的节目成本，分毫不会用到我们观众好朋友的donate。另外，我们还有同步在靖天电视台的直播哈，谢谢靖天电视台的陆总哈，他除了联播我们的节目以外，他们也愿意把他们节目的donate收益呢，全数用在照顾国军弟兄姐妹的身上，所以欢迎大家donate让我们一起来帮助我们台湾的国军。那我们308高地每次都会邀请专家，we would like to invite a lot of experts come to our studio to discuss about the issue we care, we concern. 那这个礼拜我们要用英文的，所以 this is an English lesson for my program. 我先介绍我们的好朋友哈，Tony Hu， 我们的这个胡振东教官，
谢谢大家好。
对，那 Tony 教官是我们的老朋友 ，old friends， 他不仅在五角大厦的时候担任对台湾很重要的工作哈，他事实上从美国政府退休下来以后，对中华民国台湾也提供了很大的协助。He's truly our friend.
Thank you.
那 the other one, don't be jealous, Tony. I'm a big fan of Topher.
Yeah,
Uncle Topher. 哈，这个I don't want to call you YouTuber because you are
the warfighter.
Yeah, you are some expert to provide your opinions, and I love to watch your studio. You holding your stick and walk around and speak, so cozy, so relaxed, and sharing those serious issues. So today we want to introduce our friend, my idol, Topher. Yeah, say hello to our friends here.
Thank you. I'm very happy, very honored to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
So today we invite a soldier from Army, an officer from Air Force, and two true friends of Taiwan. We want to discuss one topic about the deployment, the reshaping strategy of United States in West Pacific. So my first question is, this term may be a little bit not familiar with Taiwanese. Tinian airfield. We translate into Mandarin is Tianning岛.
Yep.
Tinian airfield. It's in the north of Guam Island.
Right.
And owned by North Mariana. And United States reactivate that airfield. Why? You have such a huge, big Air Force base, Anderson. Why you want to reactivate this airfield, and what for? And what kind of challenging situation make United States consider to restart this kind of program?
Well, the U.S. is moving from 20 years of counterinsurgent operations, which the acronym is COIN. COIN operations, counterinsurgency, and that was basically killing terrorists who were living in caves. And they need to reshape and modernize the force for what's called ACE, Agile Combat Employment. And this is to be able to engage what the military calls a near-peer adversary. That's P-E-E-R, peer. Yeah, it's basically China is the only military that's aggressive, that comes even close to being a peer to the U.S. So, frankly, the U.S. is modernizing so that if things escalate with China to a point that it becomes a shooting war instead of a Cold War, a trade war, we're prepared.
Yeah, China, they become more aggressive.
Oh, very much.
They are harassing neighboring countries like Taiwan, Japan, even Philippines, and even Australia,
Vietnam, India.
Vietnam, and they expand their military expense every year, 7%, and it's second largest military entity in the world. So the Tinian airfield to restart this Air Force base. As I recall, since 2015, the last turn of Trump administration. So what's the importance of this airfield? And how is the U.S. reshaping its strategic posture across the first and the second island chain in this area?
Well, in Western Pacific, the first island chain, if you notice, recently we have been forward deploying forces. Those are the forces that belong to Indo-Pacific Command. And we are also building alliances, linking up, for example, Japan and the Philippines. They have agreements for logistic support, and Japanese actually can use the Filipino bases. In the past, in Asia, unlike in Europe where we have collective security like NATO, United States relationship has been bilateral. We're trying to build a multilateral defense system by linking up these countries. So right now we have many access agreements that we've been obtaining from the Philippines and from Japan, where all these little islands, in case of conflict, we can go from our main operating base like Kadena Air Force Base to these forward operating bases. So that's the first island chain.
Yeah, that's a frontier.
That's the frontier. That's where the forces under Indo-Pacific Command is expected to engage the enemy and hold the enemy.
So can I describe this from Korea to Japan to Okinawa to
Taiwan to Okinawa, Taiwan, Philippines?
The first island chain.
Exactly.
So many military base layer. So many military assets layer. So this is like arch, like a frontier.
We don't have forces in all those locations, but we have access agreement that say if you need to, you can go here. And also we have been building a lot of weapon storage locations, so our war reserves are forward deployed already. Before they're held back mostly in Andersen Air Force Base in Guam. So second island chain, in this case Tinian, mainly we were refurbishing it to allow follow-on forces to deploy from continental U.S. because as the forward deployed forces hold, when the follow-on forces get into the area of battle, then we win. We will have overwhelming forces with our allies and the forces that follow on coming from mainland United States and from Alaska and possibly Europe. So the refurbishment of Tinian mainly is for that, because we need a big place where follow-on forces bring all the stuff with them, because the war reserve stuff in the Pacific is for the forward deployed forces. So when the follow-on forces come, they need a lot of space because they have to bring everything with them. So I believe that's one of the many locations, as you know, that the United States is reactivating and expanding.
They're reactivating this airfield since 6-7 years ago. Does that mean United States regard China as a major threat in this region, and those military arrangement in the first island chain is not enough to deter this kind of threat? They need stronger supporting system.
The U.S. wants to be over-prepared.
Over-prepared.
Yeah, you don't want to be caught unprepared with what could be a major war, a civilization-changing war. And having the more forces in the Western Pacific prepared for that just deters it from even happening in the first place. Another reason that the U.S. is focusing a lot of money on Guam and Tinian is that these are U.S. territories.
Yes.
Right? Politics can change over the next 10, 20 years in the Philippines, or
like
Japan. You know, maybe the U.S. forces won't be as welcome there in 20 years. They don't know. If they have a great established support center in Guam and Tinian, it's less of a concern.
So this posture, Americans exposed in this area, do you think it's strong enough to deter China's ambition toward First Island Chain? They provoke everywhere.
Yes. You know, there's a saying, deterrence only works when the person is logical. Deterrence doesn't work with the madman, okay? So you have to think about, and Admiral Paparo said this,
Yeah.
if deterrence fails, he's going to win because that's his job.
Yeah.
You know, his job is deter. But if you can't deter a madman,
You have to win.
you have to win. You don't have a choice. So that's the force structure, that's the preparation he's doing right now to make sure he can win. And not just by United States and Taiwan alone, but he's building alliances like Balikatan, Australia's there,
Yeah.
you know, and we're doing exercise with the Brits, with the Italians, all in this region. And the British carrier battle groups coming.
Yes.
You know, so that's his job. If deterrence fails, he's going to make sure he can win.
Yeah, to make sure democracy can win is the best way to deter.
Absolutely.
It's the best way. You are not showing, pretending you can win. You actually
You have to
can
show
win.
it. You have to show
Yeah,
it.
so I rate the strategical Indo-Pacific strategy, something like that, from Trump first administration, 2018,
Yeah.
revealed in Australian media. And according to that, Indo-Pacific, Indo-PACOM, they have to showing their strong deterrence within First Island Chain, dominant between First Island Chain and Second Island Chain.
Yep.
And based on that strategy plan, they start to reactivate Tinian airfield and to deploy some mid-range missiles in some island, become some kind of launch pad.
Yep.
And after that, make those launch pad island become fortress. So this kind of strategy in United States will that be changed because different guy, different one elected as a president, or they have consistency? Because now Trump administration second term say they want to shift the weight. They withdraw some military assets, resources from Europe, from Mid East to Indo-Pacific region, and they are doing now. So all this based on the strategic plan revealed in 2018. So you are from you two from United Force. Does this going to be consistency, or if someone become new president, will change this kind of strategy plan?
I don't think so, because remember, the president is a politician, okay? For military advice, he counts on the chairman of the Joint Chief, who counts on the commander of the Indo-Pacific Command, the warfighters.
Yeah.
And so there are different strategies the president might implement politically, trade, and foreign affairs. But as far as military goes, I suspect he will probably listen to the person who's in charge of defending U.S. national interests in this region, which is Admiral Paparo right now. So I have a good feeling about that. I don't think it's going to change. And certainly President Trump has not indicated he's changing anything. So I'm pretty confident that after all, he does recognize China is a pacing threat for the next 10, 20 years. And the only country that can actually threaten our national security. So I suspect he will maintain the current status and continue to deter, continue to build up forces to make sure Xi Jinping doesn't do anything stupid.
Yeah, I have to agree with Tony completely. You know, there's not a lot of things in U.S. politics that are bipartisan, that both political parties agree on, but defending Taiwan, supporting Taiwan, and not just Taiwan, but also the Philippines, Japan,
the
South
entire-
I can share the
Korea.
story. I just
Australia.
finished my trip from DC.
Yes,
Right,
yes.
yeah.
In DC, Democrats and Republicans, just like Taiwan blue party, green party, they can argue for everything.
Yeah.
But about security of Taiwan, they have 100% consensus on this. And we have meeting with both sides together. They say, we don't agree, is tariff, something like that. But about security, stability of Taiwan, they have bipartisan agreement.
The bottom line is that Taiwan especially, but all the allies in the Pacific are just too important to America for trade and for technology. They're just huge strategic partners.
So I watch Topher's show, Chris's show a lot. You talk about, you have confidence. China cannot win if they dare to invade in Taiwan. You talk about a lot of these things. And once I have a privilege to have a conversation with John Bolton, and two sentences he shared with me. He said, strength is not provocative, weakness is.
That's right.
Do you guys think the deployment, all this military arrangement in this region, I mean, first island chain to second island chain, even to Hawaii, all this military arrangement and the deployment, do you think the strength is enough to deter China's ambitious, aggressive their action here every day? We are under threat every day.
I personally don't think it's enough, but I think that the U.S. is also taking other appropriate steps that, complete the puzzle, so to speak. The development of new technologies, especially, a lot of interesting stuff coming out of new companies and established companies, automated drones, the establishment of the Golden Dome. So I think the U.S. is getting there. I think the U.S. is a little bit on the back foot, right? I mean, ideally, the U.S. would have much stronger shipbuilding capacity, would already have something like the Golden Dome in place and all that. But technology, the U.S. is getting smarter on how it's spending its money when it comes to the future war. Right? It's scrapping some projects that might look really good 20 years ago, and instead taking a look at modern conflicts and seeing, hey, you know what, this is a better idea.
Well, you too in Taiwan. China, they do coercion military exercise, every year, every day. And they are joint patrolling exercise penetrate Taiwan Strait. It happens every week. And they are invest in building all kinds of warships, amphibious assault boat. So they are expanding their military influence.
Right.
And as well as United States, all the allies in this region, Japan, they increased their national defense budget. Taiwan, my president, he made an announcement. He's going to increase our defense budget from 2.45% to beyond 3, maybe 5, maybe 5. And Philippines, they increased their defense budget. They have F-16. They're going to buy F-16. That's the news. And even Korea, they have some problem about their president, but they still increase their military expense. But what we don't have here is United States, they have joined the military exercise with Korea, with Japan, with Philippines, with Australia, and sometimes they all together. But the central part, Taiwan, we don't have, at least we don't have official military exercise, bilateral or multilateral. If we don't have plan, how can we use exercise to verify if this kind of cooperation works, to fix, to revise, then exercise again, then revise it. We go through indirectly way. Does that work to you?
Well, let me go back to what you said earlier. the China's military expansion is tremendous. Okay, they have the largest navy in the world right now.
Yeah.
What's the other side of that story? The other side of the story is most of their navy is inexperienced.
Yeah.
They're new people. They have no experience, and they certainly don't have combat experience. Okay, what United States does well is passing our combat experience to our allies, and you're absolutely right. The lack of joint exercise is a gap, and it is valuable to be able to exercise together. But because of political issues, we can't do that right now. On the other hand, today, you know how many U.S. military members are here? Hundreds.
Topher is here.
Well, active duty guys who are passing on our warfighting experience are on the ground, and you know that
I
more
know
than.
that. I know.
Yeah.
So they're literally hundreds. Okay, and so that experience been passed, but not in the unit level. But on the other hand, Taiwan is sending fighting units as a unit for training in the U.S.
Battalion level.
Battalion level,
yeah.
And the fighter squadron, 21st Fighter Squadron, in a fighting unit, which is getting trained together and exercise together. Okay,
Yeah.
so there are some of that going on. Certainly, it doesn't replace it like the way we do it with Japan, Korea, all the Philippines, the Balikatan. 9,000 American troops are there, training alongside, shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah.
Right. So that's hard to replace, but at least some things are being done. You know, we are coming here, and Taiwan's unit level are going there.
You know, what I heard is there will be more than 1,000 instructors, teachers, English teachers from states come to modernize our military training program.
And when Taiwan exercise in Taiwan, the U.S. guys are mixed within it. Okay, they will observe. Okay,
Yeah.
this you can do better by doing this way.
Yeah, we are doing that now.
Exactly,
And-
right now.
And last year, we even have one brigade level military exercise
Wow.
in United States, and our deputy commander led 2 battalion, and using 8 days to take civilian flights to assemble in some certain location in the United States. That kind of experience is, you know, what we need.
Yeah,
The combat
absolutely.
experience and how to work with our allies. But you know, sometimes in Oriental, substantial is symbolic. Symbolic is substantial. If we can have this kind of joint or multi-country military exercise nearby,
Yeah.
that will deliver a clear message to this autocracy: don't do something stupid. Sometimes it's the best way to deter.
Yeah, I agree, and I think Taiwan should fight for a certain type of deployment to Guam. It's U.S. territory. Aircraft go to Alaska, U.S. territory. So because whenever you get a third country involved, it gets complicated. Yeah, so go to Alaska, go to Red Flag, Alaska, and it's close enough where many of Taiwan's pilots have air refueling training. We can
Yes.
actually do air refueling, or some other countries sometimes use U.S. airplane that's already there. You just bring the pilots over, and you have a checkout flight on the U.S. jet, usually similar in the cockpit configuration. Then they use U.S. jet during the exercise. So we have done that for certain countries before, especially if the deployment is too far or if their pilots are not air refueling trained.
Yeah.
So these are options. I think Taiwan during high-level talks should start explore, you know, so that at least they can exercise in the United States, where use U.S. equipment, send the people.
Yeah, and I just talked with our chief of staff, saying maybe we can equip some battalion, 100% American equipment, not have Taiwan made, have American equipment, but that's another issue. So Chris used to serve in Iraq,
Right.
So you have quite experience to work with soldiers from different countries.
Oh, sure.
And
Yeah.
I noticed you have observed Taiwan current situation very. Actually, I have to say we have you here. It's so good.
Well,
It's
thank
really
you.
good to have you here. So
I'll try to stay
what's
objective.
your perspective about this?
as far as, the geopolitical situation is so complex. I think having Taiwan forces actively participate with the U.S. or other allies in a big multinational exercise, that might be what we call a bridge too far right now, But I think it's very feasible to have Taiwan leadership. And especially I would recommend NCOs, sergeants, not just officers, and warrant officers, people who are in charge of maintenance, people who are actually in charge of the soldiers and the ground level work, to observe some of the major exercises that are happening. I think this year there's going to be a RIMPAC exercise in Australia, and that has a lot of countries that are going to be involved in that. So hopefully Taiwan can at least send some observers.
Taiwan and North Korea, we are the only two has never been invited to RIMPAC. But we have an observer over there.
Yeah.
We have some we are some kind of participant. We are not North Korea. It's totally different kind of country. But about this, maybe Taiwan can recruit or hire some experienced new retired from American troops.
Yeah,
certainly.
I think there'd be a lot of soldiers who'd be willing to help
become
out
some
with that
kind
as well.
of coach, some kind of instructors, and some kind of concept of foreign legion, like you mentioned a couple of days ago.
And I also like your idea of having a unit that is equipped 100% with one type of equipment.
From radio, from communication system, from the rifles, everything.
That would make maintenance so much easier for the unit. They have all the right maintenance codes. I don't want to get too technical on how the logistics of it all works, but it would just streamline things.
Yeah. So let's move back a little bit back to the Tinian. From Tinian airfield to First Island Chain, there are so many islands.
Yeah, tiny.
So many islands. And according to the materials I can reveal here, at least more than 10 islands become fortress and the launch pad for mid-range around 1,000 kilometers range. Those missiles equipped with those fortresses.
Right.
What's that for? You have Okinawa, you have Taiwan, you have Philippines, you have so many allies in the frontier, and now you have Anderson, you have North Mariana, you have Tinian,
Saipan,
and inside this is Philippine Sea and the West Pacific Ocean. Why United States want to deploy those missiles units or some Marines in those remote islands?
Those are not permanent deployments. Okay, we use them for exercises, and like I said, most of them are designed for follow-on forces to support conquering, winning the conflict. Because like I said, the Indo-Pacific area forces by themselves, it's going to be hard for them to actually win the conflict. But so they need the support of the follow-on forces. Follow-on forces come here, they have to have a home. We call bed down. You got to have a place to bed down. Okay, so if you don't have those things pre-surveyed, okay, when you come, this is where we're going to put the fuel bladders, so the gas. This is where we're going to put the ammunition dump, because all the bombs and missiles and bullets get put here. This is where people are going to live. This is the kitchen. This is the hospital. So many of these places you've seen pictures that we have deployed for exercise. Then we pull it out. We have these base kits that come in pallets. Then when C-130 comes, they just push it out of the bag.
Yes.
And they start building it.
Yes.
So in many bases, for Air Force, it's simple because usually we go to a place with already have a runway. If you have a runway and a building, you already got electricity and water and stuff. Just have to make it more. So you need more gas places. So we will put bladders, rubber bladders for gas, as our fuel tanks and munitions. So what we're seeing now is we are practicing, making sure we can use those places for bat down for follow-on forces. Our forward deployed forces will already practice Balikatan or Northern Edge with Japan. So all those places we're already deployed to under ACE, Agile Combat Employment. So that's why we got to find home for the follow-on forces. Otherwise, they got no place to go to.
Will Dongfeng DF missiles damage this kind of deployment?
Well, you can hear the China side. You know, they often talk about this.
Using Dongfeng to wash the floor.
They're making the assumption that we have no missile defense.
Good.
Yeah.
So these locations, one of the first things they're going to deploy is base security, including air missile defense.
Right.
You know, otherwise the rest of the stuff is at risk.
No, 5 years ago, I watched a video in Anderson Air Force Base. They tried to integrate Israel Iron Dome and with Patriot system become a new air defense system. And why? They want to make sure they won't be bothered by those Dongfeng
Precisely.
missiles.
And if you look at the overall laydown of our air missile defense, okay, so we have THAAD, right? And Patriot, and Aegis ships with SM-3s. Okay, so it's several layers. That's ready for
and you have allies, you have friends.
Along the way, and Japanese Aegis ships all shoot SM-3s, all are missile defense capable for their own, obviously. And if a conflict with China starts, those are all resources that we can call upon. So China likes to say that they can do all that, and they're also assuming a carrier battle group don't have that defense. All the destroyers and cruisers got SM-3s, you know, and so it's not that easy, and they don't have enough missiles to cover all the places that the 4 operating bases, you know, they just don't have enough resources.
That's exactly it. That's the agility part of the ACE. So
ACE,
instead of you know, China doesn't have to just target if they want to do a preemptive strike against the U.S. Instead of just 3 targets, you know, Okinawa, the Philippines, and Guam, now they have a dozen or more targets that they have to worry about that are not only capable of housing missiles, ground-based missile systems, and ship-based missile systems that are able to reach mainland China, but they all could have really good air defense systems too. And they're all talking to each other. They're all networked.
It's a network.
And one thing I don't think China realized, that the U.S. counter-strike capability, once we detect missiles coming, our missiles going there already. They don't get a second strike. They will be
it's not only to intercept those coming missiles. Counterfire.
We're launch their bases, so they don't get a second chance. You know, they launch the first wave, that's your last wave. We're eliminating that threat. So a lot of,
no matter it's precise or not, sometimes they will miss.
Exactly, they will
miss. The Chinese weapons are even
they always
not
miss.
precise.
So while their missiles in the air, our missiles are already going. You know, so if they want to do a battle damage assessment and do a second wave, there is no second wave.
That's one tactics we learned from United States. According to our new, I don't know if I can say this, according to some program we are learning now, if China launch missile toward Taiwan, toward our residential or our military base, Taiwan, we have capability not only to intercept it, but also at the same time to destroy. They don't have second chance.
Hit the source.
So Tony, you realize we have this kind of capability.
You can have 1,000 missiles, but if the launcher's destroyed,
missiles staying home.
Missiles is just like a rock, like a rock. You destroy it.
You have an expensive rock now.
So we just picture this: the first island chain, like an arch, and the Guam Island, North Mariana, and this vast ocean. So many fortress island, and from Okinawa, Miyako Strait to Taiwan, Basi Channel to Luzon Island to Philippines, And this wide the ocean, all the democracy allies, they have different kind of equipments, communication system, C4ISR, and front, back, and reinforcement. So if China plan to launch a full-scale invasion toward Taiwan, according to a book written by a Air Force General, PLA, he say, if China really want to occupy Taiwan, the first strike, the first hit, maybe not Taiwan, maybe supposed to attack Okinawa or Guam.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that? They want to make sure you won't interfere their invasion.
Yeah, this is the same concept as Japanese attack of Pearl Harbor.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, so
the same concept.
It would be a very bad mistake because if they hit Japan, the Japanese will strike back. And from
But if they don't hit Japan, if they across Taiwan Strait, Japan over 7 fleet going to cut off the logistic flow from China to Taiwan.
It's easy because our 7th Fleet, you know, over there in Japan, our 7th Fleet forces, the carrier, they're going to have to do something with the U.S. forces that's in Japan. But if you hit Japan, try to hit U.S. forces, Japanese will get involved. It's closer for Japan to hit Beijing than come to Taiwan straight. You know, it's closer this way. So I think it's a double-edged sword for the Chinese if they want to hit Japan or not. But then the probability of success of invading Taiwan will be lowered if they don't hit some of the major U.S. locations in Japan. That's why we also know that's their strategy, and we have dispersal plan right now. We've been practicing for almost 8-9 years now.
Yeah.
So, Chris,
anyone who spends a little bit of time studying U.S. military history will tell you it's a really bad idea to attack the U.S. first. It never ends well for the attacker.
It pisses us off so much.
That's why the U.S. has Guam.
but if you were commander of PLA, you want to invade Taiwan, but you know there are two tigers, Japan and the United States allies. And if I cannot 100% make sure you won't interfere my invasion, what will you do?
I wouldn't even use the military. I would if I wanted to use the military, I would, if I'm in charge of the PLA, I'm wearing that hat now, I would maybe test the waters with Jimin Island, right? I would see, because it's something that would
to
be...
seize Quemoy Island first.
Yeah, I would do a blockade, try and seize it. I would see how the local populace
But if China dare to blockade some remote island, maybe not Kinmen, remote island owned by Taiwan.
Right.
The response, the sanction from international society is the same.
It's the same as they attack Taiwan. Exactly.
Yeah,
it's going to be the same.
I would see what exactly
the
all
water
the
will be too
sanctions
hot.
going to be. Yeah. That's what I would do. I would test that. I would see how bad are these sanctions going to be. What can we bring to the negotiating table? But honestly, if my job was to try and take over Taiwan, I won't use invade, I'll say take over, I would spend all my efforts with propaganda and trying to coerce politicians and shift the vote, try and change the minds of the Taiwanese.
They are doing now. They are doing now.
I would agree with that, you know. Because militarily, for them to win using force is probability of success is very low.
Yeah.
But because Taiwan is a free democratic society, everybody have freedom of speech, freedom of press. They use that against Taiwan. Just like, you know, in the United States, we're facing similar situation where they use our freedom against us. So they have the press freedom. That's why you have these TV stations that basically say what China wants to say in Taiwan.
Yeah.
So they tear Taiwan apart from the inside. Okay, that's one part. I believe if I was Xi Jinping, I will focus on that, continue to tear Taiwan apart from the inside, And so Taiwan can never unify or unite, because a united nation like Ukraine right now is impossible to defeat.
I hope my folks, my Taiwanese fellows, listen to your words for the past several minutes, because it's happening now.
Exactly.
And not only in Taiwan. We are an open society, democracy system.
Yeah.
Using disinformation, using money to bribe some media, using some democracy tool to undermine your democracy, to change your voting attitude in Korea, in Japan,
it's
and
everywhere.
even in United States.
Oh, absolutely.
The Russians and Chinese are doing that. So it takes smart people. You know, in a democratic society, democracy only works if you have an educated populace who can tell right from wrong. Democracy didn't work in Afghanistan. They don't have an educated populace. They're easily influenced, and you can't survive as a democracy.
That's a good point. Taiwan, the education level is much higher than
so people should be able to tell
Afghanistan.
what's real, what's not.
But sometimes education cannot make you smarter.
Sometimes.
But we do notice Beijing take advantage of democracy, and they are doing now toward several different kinds of democracy, and it creates some effect. TikTok, little red books, something like that. But I believe in democracy.
Oh yeah,
I believe in democracy.
It's one of the consequences of living in a free society.
Yeah.
You have to accept all the ideas, and the only way to fight bad ideas is with good ideas.
Yeah, and sometimes when we realize what treasure we have now, and life is not perfect,
right?
But we have freedom to speak, to vote, to decide our future, not decided by some communist.
Oh yeah,
Right.
And when that kind of will show up, the determination, a united democracy is so powerful. No autocracy or communism can defeat that.
Yep.
I believe that.
Yep.
I believe
Me
that.
too.
Oh, I agree, and I think history has shown that that is the trend.
Yeah. So let's move back to the Tinian Island.
Right.
Southern part is Guam, and Anderson Air Force Base. To Taiwan, it's an important military base.
Critical.
And so unfamiliar. So I would like to ask Tony, what's the importance, what's the value of Anderson Air Force Base?
Okay.
How big is that?
Anderson Air Force Base is humongous. We have a picture later on.
Yeah.
This is Tinian.
Oh, the Tinian
this
North
Tinian.
Field. 我们换到那个安德森机场，安德森基地。
Yeah, so Anderson is humongous. It was our one of the primary bases when we were having the Vietnam War. So Anderson Air Base actually have two bases, if I may. The two Anderson Air Force Base is open, currently used. Anderson North is another location that following forces can deploy. And this is obviously Anderson Air Force Base. Can you go back to the previous slide?
来到前一张，
Yeah. So
回到前一张，
if we look at Anderson Air Force Base,
前一张不是下一张。
Yeah, 前一张。
这张那个地图 Island the map.
yeah, so this is obviously the hard stance in
Not this one.
No.
前
Yeah, this is, Saipan and Rota, they all got airfields.
So many movie about Saipan.
It's a nice place. I like it. And
有没有那个关岛的安德森机场？那个有个地图有没有？有个北边的两个机场。
So if you look at this picture,
I'll
right?
stay this. Okay.
The location between Anderson Air Force Base and Anderson Air Force Base Northwest Field, that entire area in the middle got a little bit of green. That's entirely a munition storage area.
Ammunition storage area.
It's got hundreds of bunkers. That's where I was going to have to put Taiwan's MRAM.
Okay.
That's where I went and looked at some of the bunkers.
Before, decades ago, when we procured some modern equipment, and rumors say United States don't want Taiwan have that in hand. They will store those equipments over there.
That was where, so I had a chance to go visit, and I couldn't believe, because if you look at that entire area between the two bases, it's bigger than Andersen Air Force Base Northfield, and almost the same size as Andersen Air Force Base Southfield. That entire area is where we have our war reserve, okay? And they are in
Can you use our CCK to compare with that?
Right.
How big is that?
So it's a little bit bigger than CCK.
Bigger than CCK for ammunition
and
storage.
It's all hardened bunkers. It's not just open. It's all hardened. You know, some of them semi-underground. So it's so important. And then now, if we can look at the April Harbor.
April Harbor.
You have another picture of April Harbor that I provided to you.
April
Harbor
那个 April 港的那个相片
Yeah.
那个 Tony 提供的相片
So
那个港口
this is an important place also for our force structure, because
This one?
Yeah, this is one of
the naval base.
This is naval base, and right here.
Okay,
So on this picture, you can see two submarines already. That's two of the five that called it home. One is Virginia class, one is Los Angeles class. In another 2 years, they'll be all Virginia class. Virginia class is our biggest and most quiet nuclear attack submarine.
Yeah.
So this location,
2 submarine there and the tender here.
yeah, submarine tender right there, and this is from Google Earth, so it's unclassified, and but you can tell there are 5 submarines called this home, okay, and so 3 of them are out there patrolling, and we also have additional submarines at Pearl
The
Harbor.
harbor for submarine, the depths will be deeper than the normal one.
Not necessarily. The deepest, we need deep ports for aircraft carriers, and this is deep enough for aircraft carrier. We actually have aircraft carriers there before, as transit to supplement vegetables and stuff when they. So, anyways, so Guam is important both in the sense of air and sea.
Yes.
Okay, and the humongous storage of our war reserve material. And many of this stuff, my understanding is, have been transferred. Some went to the Philippines, the new bases that up north, and we were building all the bunkers, weapon storage stuff.
There are 9 new military bases in the Philippines. And
Marcos Jr. opened it to us and allowed us to construct
400 kilometers away from Kaohsiung Harbor.
Yeah. And that place is right next to the Navy base that's open as one of the 9, where our ships can go in and get rearmed and get back and take care of the Bashi Strait and also Taiwan Strait. Bashi Haixia. So Guam is important for forces that is moving forward, and Andersen is huge. Right now we have our bomber task force.
Yeah.
You know, we have bombers there.
B-52.
B1, B2, they rotate. When I was in the government over 10 years ago, it's not constant. We have bomber task force for 3 months, then 3 months with no bombers, and then they come again. Now it's constant. We have bomber task force in Andersen Air Force Base constantly.
Yeah.
One unit will stay there for 3 months, and another unit comes, rotate out. And you know where else we have bomber task force? Misawa Air Base, Japan. Just started last month.
Okay.
We have B1s on bomber task force rotation in Japan. We have never done that, but that's quick reaction.
Yeah.
Because that supersonic bomber, they don't have to get too close to Taiwan. They can already launch 1,500 kilometers away. They have cruise missiles that's coming out already. They can kill everything on Taiwan Strait from that far away. So
this is the posture of winning, posture of deterrence.
Exactly, deterrence. Don't do anything foolish. And there's a B-1 bomber.
Who took this photo?
This is I took this when I was in Andersen Air Force Base a while back, and I walk out of the BX, and there's the B-1, and one of them was actually taxiing out. And in the back, you see the F-16s out there. So it's B-1's impressive. Bomber carries a lot and go low level. It's hard to detect. It's not stealthy, but it's fast and fly low. So
Andersen Air Force will become some kind of headquarters during the invasion launched by China?
Not likely.
Or logistics center?
It's more of a logistics center because if you look at how we fight wars, in a Taiwan scenario, there will be a joint task force, a combined joint task force, most likely because we'll have foreign forces join us. If it's just United States forces, we call joint task force. It's going to be combined joint task force, and the commander of the combined joint task force most likely will be on a ship near Taiwan.
Okay.
And most likely this will be on USS Blue Ridge, the 7th Fleet command ship. Right now this ship is in Australia.
Yes.
Visiting Australia. So Blue Ridge will be the headquarters because you don't conduct warfare from back home. We learned this mistake a while back. So we want the warfighter, like during the Gulf War, our headquarters was in Bahrain.
Yeah.
You know, Schwarzkopf was deployed in the region, and we learned from that lesson. From Vietnam War, we're trying to fight it from the White House Situation Room. You know, so we learned that we won't do that again. So
put a commander nearby.
Yeah. He will be nearby, so all the information flow, and he can feel, he gets sense of the pace, the tempo of a fight. You know, so it's important, and most likely that's what will happen. But the Guam will be more of a support, continue to support the war effort up front.
So, Chris, have you ever been there?
Not yet. I plan to go, though. I'd really love to go to Guam. And there's direct flights to Guam, to Taiwan now.
Actually, I just got a message. My committee, I'm member of Foreign Affairs and the Defense Committee of Taiwan Parliament. And the co-chair from KMT, they plan to visit Guam next week.
Next week?
Without notify our counterpart.
Huh.
United States, does United States know they're coming?
I don't think so. Even AIT maybe. AIT, if you watch my show, they are coming. But this they of course they are also my colleagues.
Yeah.
They have right to arrange all different kind visit, but to arrange a meeting outside of our territory, you need to talk first.
Yeah, MOFA need to be the office over there. Does Taiwan have a consulate there in Guam? I don't know.
Yes, we have,
Okay.
but we don't have military there.
Yeah, no
attaché,
but military attaché.
No, even I want to visit your house, I need to give you a phone call first.
Not polite.
Not say, okay, I plan to visit Tony's house next week, and you don't know. But that will become another issue. I don't know why the KMT party they want to do this. But so come back to Chris.
Yeah.
Look at all the places you can put airplanes and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
In Anderson Air Force Base. It's humongous.
It's really big.
Yeah.
It's very impressive.
So, in your opinion, what's the role of Anderson Air Force Base or Guam Island?
Well, Guam,
during the invasion of China plan to invade Taiwan.
Guam will be a centralized supply and logistics point. There's a Marine base that's being built there now.
Yeah.
I think the U.S. is spending over $10 billion in developing Guam and the surrounding islands.
There has滨海战斗团 the littoral combat groups.
They're not out of Guam.
North Mariana.
Yeah.
They have reopened a Marine camp
Yeah.
in that area.
Yeah. A lot of those Marines are moving from Okinawa to Guam.
Yeah.
So it's a repositioning of existing soldiers in the West Pacific. But it's going to be a crucial spot for resupply, and it can also be a critical, not only a defensive aspect for any long-range missiles that might be threatening the U.S. Territories like Hawaii, Alaska, or even U.S. itself, the continental U.S. But it's also capable of being offensive as well. Obviously, all the bombers and fighters and the ships and the submarines that can take off.
Yeah.
But the U.S. has land-based missiles, mobile on trucks, that have the range to precision strike mainland China, and they're in Guam, and they're going to be on Tinian
airfield.
Yeah, Tinian is most likely going to be a major backup. So it's going to be able to house a lot more warfighters and jets and Marines and bombers in case of a hot war. So think of it as like an empty hotel, basically.
Yeah, right there. It is, like Topher said, it's like an empty hotel. So when U.S. follow-on forces deploy there, they bring everything with them and settle there and fight from there.
This grid pattern is really interesting because it's very difficult to destroy a single runway and,
you can
close it down.
And close down the base.
Close it down.
Yeah, and you know, with that ACE strategy, even civilian airfields are capable of housing fighters and bombers. And there are engineers, there's Navy Seabees that are in the area. So if there is any damage, you know, if any DF-26s or hypersonic missiles coming from China do damage a runway, there's other runways to use, and that damage one's being repaired.
Yeah. So, you know, I just imagine the Guam, the North Mariana, and the frontier, all the island chain, and all the remote islands. They can coordinate. They work together.
Yeah.
The Patriot missiles in Taiwan can work together with a command in Anderson Air Force Base. Look at the system. If that system can work well, it's so powerful.
It is, and if you consider like actually closer to Taiwan, Wake Island,
Wake Island,
Midway Island. You know, I've been to both of those places and beautiful runway.
Next time, bring me with you.
It's very hard to go there, you know.
It's so difficult.
I went to those places all because of a long trip
to China. Me and Topher, we want to join your delegation.
It's very important location for us for forward deployment, for follow-on forces. So like you said, there are many places we can use. Day to day, we might not have, now the airplane can fly a long way, so both Wake and Midway are not fully used. Before, because the fighter don't fly that long, they land there to get gas and stuff. Now, it's a divert, because Pacific's big. In case airplane got a problem, they divert.
If you want to use missile, like PLA using missiles to wash the floor, just imagine how big is the Pacific Ocean.
It's impossible,
So my last question is about this system. The frontier, the logistics center, all this island. If the military conflict occurred, will those military airfield allow Taiwan Air Force to land and resupply? Because it's a system, it's in-depth. If Taiwan is the frontier, but we don't have those in-depth.
You don't have strategic depth.
It's going to be a critical, severe situation to Taiwan. So I just ask. I asked the same question to Japanese some commander, and I said, during the war, will you allow Taiwan warships, airplane to land? No, we are not feeding away. We want to land, resupply, and come back to protect my home again. Would you allow, according to your opinion, will that happen?
Well, to me, if China starts shooting, everything's out the window. Okay, and I said this in a speech before. Americans to Taiwan will become U.S. Embassy Taipei. Okay. Because when China attacks, then this One China policy, Taiwan Relations Act, out the window. Okay?
They're out the window now.
So at that time, U.S. transport will come here. Okay? Whatever Taiwan U.S. supply ship.
You mean all the restriction will be lifted?
Yeah. After the first missile, first shot, first cyber attack, I believe all the restrictions out the window because U.S. national interest is at stake. China is trying to.
I will challenge this, but before that, I will ask Topher.
Okay.
What's your opinion? Because if you look at the map, the system during the military conflict, how can you not let Taiwan Air Force or Navy resupply and then come back to protect their home again?
I think if it's needed, the U.S. would absolutely allow that. But honestly, once the first shot is fired with intention, I don't think many people understand just how quickly and seriously the U.S. and Taiwan and the other allies in the region will be able to completely obliterate Chinese forces.
Oh yeah,
really?
Oh, it's just and the weapon systems that the U.S.
totally
is developing.
Different scenario compared with Ukrainian battle. It's
completely different scenario. Completely different.
And the Chinese systems, first of all, they don't have people with experience. Plus, they brag it up about their systems. You know, the PL-10 and PL-15.
They claim PL-15 defeat Western.
But if you look at the overall scenario, Pakistan have 48 jets out, and they have intelligence from China, knowing they were waiting for the Indians, 60-some airplanes, and you're telling me you only fire 7 missiles? Impossible.
Lie.
Because each of these airplanes will at least have 2 long-range, 2 short-range missiles.
Yes.
Okay, so let's say 40 airplanes, each one with 2 long-range. They see 60 targets. How many missiles do you think they launched?
Everything.
They should have 40 missiles or more up in the air. They only knocked down 3. What happened to the other 36 or whatever missiles, right? So they don't talk about this.
That's a great point.
So they only say they shut down this, but I can't imagine when you have 60 targets here. It's been told by the land-based radar and your airborne radar. You got 40 airplanes with 80 long-range missiles, and you only shot 7.
That's how propaganda is their strongest weapon.
And they don't even. Maybe I didn't see the evidence of 3.
Yeah.
Only 1.
Because most of these missiles, active missile, they will self-destruct. When they open their eyes, they don't see the target, then they blow up.
Yes.
So become little pieces, so you may not see it in the woods and stuff. But the ones that actually didn't self-destruct ended up on the ground. Right?
Yeah, there were obviously, there's obviously evidence of missile failures. There's evidence, although I don't think it's confirmed yet, of at least 1 jet that was shot down.
At least 1,
Yeah.
But that's what everyone's talking about. That's what the narrative is, how many jets were shot down. No one's talking about
how many missiles you shoot.
Yeah, well, and that India could use Gen 4 jets, not stealth jets, against Chinese-made air defense systems and accurately pinpoint strike, what was it, 9 targets?
9 targets was hit.
Yeah. There's no question that the targets were hit.
Yeah. What happened to Pakistan air defense with
and their defense failure?
Yeah, exactly. Pakistan is China's best customer when it comes to these systems.
The only customer.
Well,
in some of the airplanes inside,
I think it's the HQ9 system.
HQ9
clearly failed.
Yeah.
There might be operator error. I don't know if maybe Pakistan was asleep at the wheel, but it's just a great example of how the propaganda, they were able to change the narrative. They're using footage of video games, footage from Ukraine to try and trick the worldwide media into talking about whether or not jets were shot down and stop talking about the failures of Chinese air defense.
My final challenge to you two is, okay, if we all agreed during the military conflict, all the rules will be broken and everything's out of the window, and the Taiwan Air Force or our Navy can use those military bases to resupply and rejoin this protection action. But if we don't have exercise during the peacetime, we don't storage the ammunition we need to equip with Taiwan Air Force or our Navy. If we don't have that, even we fly to some Air Force base, we cannot get a refill. We cannot get a resupply.
No, the connector is the same.
Connector is
same. All the missiles same. As a matter of fact, when the two F-18s landed in Tainan, Taiwan refueled our F-18s.
My house just across the street.
Yeah. See, the interoperability, the purpose of that is so that we can use the same things.
So
it's not an issue.
Taiwan Air Force or Taiwan Navy, our warship, if we got access to our allies' military base, we can get a resupply.
Well, even at sea,
it's compatible.
The connection from our auxiliary ships into your destroyer, it's the same connection.
Yeah.
So that's not an issue. Bombs and bullets and missiles, same.
Yeah.
So F-16 land at Clark Air Base,
Then,
we just put our stuff on and go.
Yeah.
So the same thing has happened during the Gulf War. The Kuwaiti Air Force escaped out, went to Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
We armored it with Sidewinders. Go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this
Not
question,
issue.
this scenario is so important because you're outside the box.
Yep.
If PLA realize this, the plan they have now try to invade
Fall
Taiwan, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
It
It
doesn't
falls
work.
apart.
Yeah, I think their plan falls apart, especially as weapon systems keep improving, because the U.S. is modernizing specifically
Yeah.
to fight China.
Yeah.
I mean, there are systems that are being developed, like the the Rapid Dragon?
Oh yes, Rapid
Yeah.
Dragon
It's
C-130.
incredible.
We talk about that.
Yes.
Okay.
You just drop.
So now any cargo plane that's in the air could be a cruise missile bomber.
Yeah, become a killing monster.
Hundreds of cruise missiles.
And that might include Taiwanese C-130s.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's a good answer.
Yeah.
So happy to have this 1 hour here. I hope we can see each other very
sir.
soon.
Yeah,
Yes,
this
sir.
was great. Thank you so
And
much.
Topher, you can use in this studio if you like.
This is an awesome
You don't have to
studio
walk
have
outside
here.
anymore.
But let that kind of
how I
cozy.
get my exercise. I get my
Walk and talk and
It's his unique. That's his specialty.
that's his charming.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
his
yeah,
charming.
I know, I know.
So welcome you guys, come again, and
Yes, sir.
thanks for your precious time.
Thank you
See
so
you
much.
next time.
Thank you.
OK，我们308高地下礼拜4晚上7点半再见，拜拜。